In this video, I will walk you through an automation I recently built that can help a business, or more specifically a sales team, get an idea of what a prospect's business is all about by summarizing the information on their website. This is a common problem with sales teams that get many inbound leads and need a quick way for the sales rep that is assigned on a deal to get as much information as possible about the prospect's business so they can have a more productive discovery session and better qualify the prospect. This automation is built with make.com and combines multiple tools together, including Tally, which is a form creation software, HubSpot, which is a very popular CRM, and OpenAI for AI models, which help with the summarization part. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show you the automation in action first. So here's my Tally lead capture form. So you can imagine that this is on my company website, let's say. And I'm going to go ahead and submit it here with let's say Jenny, last name Smith, Jenny Smith at, and then I have some sample websites here. So here's a website of, let's go with this one. There's a, I think it's a recruitment company. So I'm going to paste the domain there. Okay, submit. And now if I go to my CRM, I'm going to give it a few seconds for the automation to be executed. I'm going to go ahead and reload the page. There's the contact has been created. And then if I go to companies, here's the company record. And then if I go to the right here, there's a website summary field. And inside here, we have the generated summary. Profusion is a recruitment company specializing in the financial services sector. They provide these services, which seems to be accurate based on what I'm seeing here on the website. So that's the automation in action. Now I'm going to show you how I set it up step by step. Now, starting from the first module, the first action in the scenario, we have a Tally Watch New Responses module. And as the name of the module suggests, this is the module that waits for a new form response to be submitted on the Tally form. So here's the Tally form, as I showed you earlier. It's you can imagine it as a lead capture form that lives on a website. It captures the first name, last name, and email. And then as soon as the user clicks, as soon as the prospect clicks submit, then this module gets triggered and it retrieves all the data from that form response. Let's see this in action. So I'm only going to run this module, quickly submit the form with some test data. Submit. And there we have it. Clicking on the output, on the bubble of the module, we can see the output, which has a fields collection with the first name, last name, and email. So now we can pass this data to the next module, which is a HubSpot CRM search for contacts module, where we search whether a contact with the same email already exists. And the reason I'm doing this is because before creating a contact record in HubSpot, I need to ensure that it doesn't already exist. Because if I try to create a new contact record for someone who's already in the database, then it will throw an error and that will stop the scenario. So I don't want that. And therefore, I search whether a record with the same email already exists. And here I have a filter where I check that the total number of bundles, or in other words, the total number of results that this module retrieves is equal to 0, which means that no records have been found, and therefore the contact does not exist, so I can progress to the next step of the automation. If it was to find some bundles or some records, then this would be greater than 0, and therefore the automation would stop right there. So then we create a contact if it doesn't exist. Here I'm passing the data from the form to the relevant fields on the contact record. So email gets the email field from the form, the value of the email field from the form. First name gets the first name value, last name gets the last name value, and that's it. So the contact record gets created, and then here I have a delay. This is a 10-second delay, and the reason I have this is because in the next step, I want to search for the company record that this contact has been associated with. So what happens is that when you create a contact record in HubSpot, automatically a company record gets created for that contact. It basically takes the domain from the email address of the person, and it creates a company record with that domain. And that usually takes a little bit of time. So that's the reason here I have a 10-second delay to give it enough time for the company record to be created. Now, the reason I need that company record is because that's where I want to store the website summary, right? The website summary is not something that is related to the person that is contacting me. It's related to the company of the person that is contacting me. Therefore, I need to store it on the company record, not on the contact record. So I need to find the company record that has been created for this contact. So here I have a search for companies module where I'm searching to find the company record that has company domain name equal to the email domain property that I'm getting as an output when the contact record is created here. So let me show you this. I'm going to, let's see how I'm going to do it without breaking it. It's fine, I'll break it. I'm going to link the automation here so it doesn't progress any further, and I'm just going to execute this part. So run once. I'm going to go to lead capture form. I'm going to say, let's think of a name, Alex2. Very creative. Test Alex2 at samplecompany345.com. Submit. Okay. So contact record has been created. Now we're waiting 10 seconds, and then we will search for the company record. So let's see what happened in HubSpot here. So we have, let's go to contacts. So we have Alex2 test as a contact record, and you can see that they have been related to this company, which has the domain samplecompany345.com. And then if we click on this, it should take us to the company record. This is the company record that has been created. And this is where we want to store the website summary. Now, going back to the scenario here, you can see that when the contact record was created, under the properties collection here, we have a field called email domain. So this is what I'm taking here and passing to the search for companies module in order to find the company record that has company domain equal to the email domain of the person which we created a contact record for, right? I wanted to show you this part where we're getting an output from here and passing it here. Cool. Great. Now, before progressing to the next part of the automation here, where I'm generating the website summary and storing it on the company record, the first thing I want to do is I want to check whether the company record already has a website summary and a name. By the way, I'm not just generating a website summary, I'm also asking it to find the name of the company, because that's another thing that I want to have on the company record. Currently, when a company record gets created with just the domain, there's no name. Therefore, I want the AI to also figure out what is the company name based on the website content. So here I'm checking whether the company record has a name and a website summary. If they do not have any of these, then the rest of the automation gets triggered. If they already have those values, then it will not be triggered. And the reason I'm having that check is because there could be multiple people from the same company who submit the form, right? It could be Alex, then the next day it could be Helen, right? From the same company. Therefore, we want to create new contact records for each person, but we don't want to regenerate the website summary and the company name for each submission, right? So that's why I'm performing this check here. Now, if those values do not exist, if any of those values do not exist, then we have a router here where there's basically, you can think of this as two processes, right? The router will first execute the first path, and then it will execute the second path. As you can see on the router paths, I don't have filters, which means that both of them will be triggered in order. Now, in the first path here, in the first portion of this automation, what I want to do is retrieve the website content. So if we click on this HTTP request here, you can see that I'm making a GET HTTP request to the domain of the company, right? So you can imagine this being HTTPS // samplecompany345.com, whatever it is. It will make a GET request, and that will retrieve all the content from all the data of the web page, right? So if I run this, let's say domain apple.com, data, this is all the HTML from the homepage of apple.com. So it's pretty much the same thing as going to the browser and searching for apple.com. It's the same thing. The browser performs a GET request to get the HTML of the website, but then the extra step that happens after it retrieves this data is that the browser is built to process the data, process the HTML, and create the visual representation, let's say, of the website, so you can actually interact with it. But in this case, we just want the HTML, right? So here we get the HTML of the website, and then the next step is we create a variable called website data, where we're storing that data element, which contains the HTML. Now here we have another path, and this looks a little bit different. The connection bubbles here do not have any color like all the other ones we see. And the reason for that is because this is actually an error handler path, which means that it will only be executed in the case where this module throws an error. And the reason why this module would throw an error is if we're trying to access an invalid URL. And the cases where this would be invalid, the most common ones, are if the website lives under a www subdomain, right? Or actually could be any other subdomain, but the most common would be a www subdomain. So what I'm doing here is I'm saying that if this fails, then go down this path and try to access the website with a www subdomain. And If this succeeds, then it will again create a variable called website data, and it will store the output of this module, the HTML, into the value of that variable. So this is what this part of the automation does. It basically retrieves the HTML of the web page. Now, there's, of course, you could take this further, and you could, for example, try and find the About Us page of each website. That's possible, but it would be more complex. For this example, I'm just retrieving the content of the homepage. So once we execute this, we now have that variable. We now go down this path, right? So that's the next path that will be executed. And here the first step is to retrieve the data of that variable called website data that has been created here or here. So we get that HTML data. And the next step here, I'm using a text parser to convert the HTML to text, because I don't care about all the HTML tags and all the unnecessary, CSS links and JavaScript code and all that stuff. I don't care about that. I just want the content of the website, the actual text. Therefore, here I'm using this really cool module which takes the HTML and converts it, extracts the text from it, basically. So I'm passing it the website data. It does that. And then I now have everything I need to generate a summary using AI. So in the OpenAI module, this is a create a completion module. I am using a GPT 3.5 Turbo 16K model. So I'm specifically using 16K here. So I have a large enough context window to summarize a lot of data, right? Because some websites have a lot of content, so it's important to use the model with the biggest context window. Then in the prompts here, I have a system prompt and a user prompt. In the system prompt, I tell the model what I want it to do. So you're a helpful assistant that takes all the text content of a business website and outputs a concise summary of what the business does and what the company name is. And I'm specifically telling it that it needs to output a JSON with the following structure, right? Because I want it to output two things. It needs to be structured in such a way where I can parse this data and then convert it into two data elements that I can pass into the next modules. So this part is very important. And then in the user, and then I have a user prompt where I'm passing the text that the text parser module outputs. So this is the actual the text content of the website. Now, once this module is done with its execution, yes, it will output a JSON, but the JSON will be in text format because the AI does not produce JSON. It produces a string, right? The output is text, but it will be structured in a JSON format, right? So in order for me to convert it into actual JSON, so I can use it, I need to parse it, right? So this is what this module does. It takes that string, that JSON string, and it converts it into actual JSON, which is based on a data structure that I defined here. And the data structure has two elements: business summary, text, and then company name, also text. So it takes a string, it produces the two data elements, which means I can then pass these output data elements to the next module, which is a HubSpot CRM update a company record module. So I can update the record of the company, which I retrieved all the way back here, right? And the way it knows that this is the record it needs to update is because I'm getting the ID data element that this record outputs. And the properties that I want to update are the website summary. I set that to be the business summary value that I retrieve from this module. And then the company name property, which I set that to be the company name value that I retrieve from this module. Now, this will make more sense when we actually execute it. So I can go through each module and show you the outputs and how the data elements are passed from one module to the other. So I'm going to run once. Let's go here again. Eric Williams. Eric at... Okay, so now I need an actual company. So let's go with this one. I think this is like a gaming studio. Domain. Submit. Starts executing. Contact record has been created. We're now waiting 10 seconds. It found the company record. It managed to retrieve. It found the company record. The condition here, the filter here met the conditions. So neither the company name or the website summary property had any values. So the condition passed. It moved to the next step. It tried to get the HTML data by searching for https://starloopstudios.com. That worked, and therefore it got the HTML and set it as the value of this variable here. That's it, website data. Then it moved down to this path. It retrieved once again the content of that variable. It then went to the text parser here, where from the HTML it extracted all the text that was available on the web page. And then it passed that to the AI module, which returned a string with a string in JSON format, where we have a business summary. This is the summary that it generated from the website content, and then a company name, which it guessed that is Starloop Studios. So then we pass that data to the JSON parser module, and you can see that it took that string and then converted it to two data elements. One is called business summary, and it contains the business summary value here. And then the other one is company name, and it contains the company name value. It then passed that to the HubSpot updated company module, and it set the company name to be the value of the name property, and the website summary to be, the business summary to be the value of the website summary property on the company record. And now if we go to HubSpot here, here is the company record. Let me go back. If I go to the right, there we go. That's the website summary. So yeah, that's the result, and that's how I set up this automation. I hope you found this walkthrough useful, and I hope you now have some inspiration on how you can solve this or a similar problem for your business. If you have any questions or suggestions on what you would like to see next, let me know in the comments below. I'm also going to make this make template available for you to download if you want. The link will be in the description. And if you need my help building internal automations for your business, you'll find more information on how you can work with me below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.